Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Live a Thousand Lives. My name's Janaea. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you've been coming for a while, thank you so much for watching. Today I'm going to be doing my August/Newts Readathon wrap up because they're one and the same. So let's get into this video. Okay, so I wanted to talk about my Newts wrap up and my August wrap up. I read 6 books in the month of August, all for the Newts Readathon. If you don't know what the Newts Readathon is, I'll leave G from the book roast announcement videos and like explaining videos down below in the description box. But for the Newts Readathon, I was trying to accomplish 4 classes: Care of Magical Creatures, Transfiguration, Charms, and Defense Against the Dark Arts. I only completed Care of Magical Creatures and Transfigurations with an outstanding. I don't even know if that technically counts as me graduating my Newts or not, but I am okay with it because I did read 6 books, and the last week of August I was moving into our new place. So let's go with Care of Magical Creatures class. For an acceptable in Care of Magical Creatures, I read To Kill a Kingdom, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. To Kill a Kingdom is by Alexandra Christo. Keep saying Alexander. And it is about Princess Lyra, and she is the Siren Princess. So in To Kill a Kingdom, sirens and mermaids are completely kind of different creatures. The sirens are the beautiful girl with the fish bottom. Mermaids are a humanoid creature with a fish bottom, but they're more fierce and ugly and brutal, I guess. They're kind of the scum of the sea. Well, Princess Lyra does something to her mom, who is the queen of the sirens, or the sea witch, and she disobeys, and so her mom punishes her, makes her human. She doesn't take her voice, which I think is interesting, but she makes her human, and Lyra has to figure out a way to win her mom's favor again. Her time spent on land, she learns that humans aren't as like weak, and that maybe sirens aren't as grand as she has always thought they were. So it's a very interesting book. I really enjoyed it. Some parts were a little slow for me, but I still really enjoyed it. The next book that I read for Care of Magical Creatures was For an Acceptable, and I believe that was read a book under 160 pages. Might have been 150. But anyway, I read We Kiss the Rain by Futhi. I can't pronounce the name. This is a book set in Africa, and it's about a girl named Mvelo. M-V-E-L-O. She's a 14-year-old girl. She finds out that her mom has AIDS and is dying. And during this time that she finds out her mom is dying, she gets raped and ends up becoming pregnant. And then like they live in this like shack that leaks, and like it's really cold and stuff. So she has to decide what to do with her baby, and she has to decide how to live without her mom. It's really, really touching and heartbreaking, and it's really, really good. If you want a short book that's going to make you cry, We Kiss the Rain. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And the only reason I gave it a 4 instead of a 5 was because I wanted more of the story, and it was a tiny book. It wasn't that there was anything really wrong with it. I was a little upset. Okay, so she gets raped by a missionary preacher, and not that I think that, you know, this doesn't happen. I'm sure that it does. Breaks my heart that it does, because people like that are evil, and they should not be going out in the name of God and performing, you know, doing these horrific acts, because that's totally opposite. Anyway, so I'm very open about the fact that I believe in God and I'm a Christian, and I hate that there are people out there who claim to be Christian and do horrible things to people. And so that hit me a little. It wasn't that I was mad that the author wrote that way. It was that it hit me hard, because I know that it happens and it shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen in general, but it shouldn't happen by people who claim to be, you know, religious, or claim to be following God and stuff like that. It bothers me. But anyway, the book was really, really good. And I loved it. So I cried like a baby. The next book I read, 4 Care of Magical Creatures, was for an outstanding, and that was The Last Known Sorrow. I adored this book. I listened to this on audiobook. I also sometimes would follow along in my book, because I have it. This is the only one I actually have. So, the rest were library books. But I read this monster. It's a huge book, and I actually listened to most of it on audiobook. I love this cover so much. It's just so pretty. But, this book is about a girl who is like the dragon slayer. I forgot to say, this is by Kristen Cicilliari. I can't pronounce the last name. I never can pronounce names. So it's about the girl who is a Asha, which is basically a dragon slayer, whatever. Anyway, she thinks that her telling, like, her mom died from her mom telling stories of dragons or stories of old, and she believes that she caused a dragon to burn her city when she was little because of the stories she told when she was little. And there's a lot of like twists in here, and she is like a high ranked, like brutal, almost like a soldier type of person. I mean, she's a dragon slayer, but like she's also like a warrior, and she ends up falling for someone she's not supposed to, and it's just really good. I loved this book so very much. I highly recommend it. Like I said, 5 out of 5. Okay, so that completed Care of Magical Creatures for me. So I moved on to Transfiguration, which, an A for Transfiguration. I read The Body Market by Donna Frateres. I can never pronounce her last name either. I'm so horrible. I gave this a 4 out of 5. This is the sequel to Unplugged, which I've talked about a couple times on my channel. So this is, I don't want to go into it. Unplugged is about Skylar, who she has lived her whole life from the time she was like 2 or 3 in a virtual reality world where you plug in and then you have a keeper who takes care of your body and makes sure that your vitals are fine and everything. and you plug in and you live your life virtually. And she wakes up to find that someone is trying to sell her body, and it's, oh my gosh, Unplugged is a really, really good book. The body market is following the events of what happens after book 1, obviously, so I can't really go into it, but I love the whole Unplugged series. It's called the Wired series, so I highly recommend you checking them out because they are excellent. So that finished my A for Transfiguration. Then I read The Edge of Nowhere for an E. But anyway, The Edge of Nowhere is about a boy who is still recovering from his mother's death. And he goes on his dad's fishing boat with him. And one night there's a storm and he ends up getting washed overboard. And it's about his journey on trying to survive and trying to make it back home to Alaska. So he ends up like overboard in islands close to Alaska. And so he's trying to figure out how to make it to Alaska and make it home. So it's him and his dog. They get washed overboard, and yeah, it was really good. It reminded me a little bit of The Hatchet, except for The Hatchet wasn't like on a whole bunch of islands. But it reminds me of that in a way. The growth of this character, he starts out kind of like a selfish brat who's grieving. You know he's grieving, but like he's kind of just a brat. And then as he's alone with his dog, he realizes he needs to take care of his dog, and he starts to think about all the things that he's done and how he's treated his dad. And it's really good. I highly recommend it. I think it's a middle grade book. It might be a young adult book. It was really simple to read. It's got like 160 to 190 pages depending on the book you read. Mine only had 164 pages in it, but Goodreads says it has 194, so whatever. But anyway, so highly recommend that book. It was really good. The last book that I read, and this one I listened to on audiobook, was Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I barely finished this. I finished it on August 25th. And then I didn't read anymore. But Heartless was really good. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I didn't like the way it ended. But I should have expected it because it's about the Red Queen, or the Queen of Hearts. But I did not like how it ended. I was so mad with how it ended. But I loved the fact that it shows you how the Queen of Hearts became the Queen of Hearts. We don't get enough backstories, I think, about villains and how they became villains. And I really, really enjoyed this one. It was my first Marissa Meyer book, and now I really want to read Cinder, and I really want to read Renegades, I think is what it's called. But anyway, those are the books that I read in August. So let me know if you've read any of these in the comments below. I hope if you participated in the Newts Readathon, you did good. Please hit the red subscribe button and the bell to get notifications from me when I post more videos. And give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And remember guys, a reader lives 1,000 lives, and so can you. So keep on reading. Bye!